was one of those eternally cheerful and happy men, always with a big smile on his face. And he knew something was wrong in an instant. He said, "Lefford, what's the matter?" I said, I told him the story about the chief. I said, "Sir, talk to the chief." He said, "Staying was a bad idea." He made it sound like if I stayed for my son, I wouldn't get my stripe. And if I went for my stripe, I'd have to hurt my son. I didn't want to hurt my son for my promotion. Luke never caught a break. Every couple of years, we would move, go from base to base. He never got to start a school year and finish a school year with all of his friends. There was always movement. Colonel Dickerson said something that I'll never forget. It changed my life. He said, "Lefford, if you make chief, you're only going to be chief for a few years. You're going to be a dad for the rest of your life." And being a dad is more than just being a dad. It's about building a dad. The type dad you are for your son is going to be the type dad that he's going to be for his children. You know, I went back and I talked to the chief and I said, "Chief, thanks for your advice, but I'm going to take that job because, as the colonel says, I'm going to be a chief for a few years, but I'll be a dad for the rest of my life." When I left that office, I wasn't big, bad, or bold, but I was happy and content because I was living my philosophy. Now, some people say, "But you gave up your dream, you gave up your stripe." No, I didn't give up anything. In June of 2003, my son Luke graduated Lakin Heath High School with his friends. I didn't say he graduated at the top of his class, but he got to hang with his friends. That in September of 2004, I was promoted to Chief Master Sergeant. I put my son first, and God gave me what I deserved. And more important than all of that, way more important than all of that, in May of 2013, my son Luke gave me my granddaughter Finley Lynn, and I became Brown Papa. I had a lot of tough times in my life, but I learned some great lessons. That first lesson is beware of what you become in pursuit of what you think you want. The second lesson was this: be careful of the choices you make, because the choices you make you. My philosophy is that I'll always take care of my family. What's your philosophy? And that was my speech, Steve. I hope I said that well.
Lefford, you're an absolutely beautiful human being. Part of it's because you can look at yourself, look at mistakes, and say that you did something wrong, make corrections, move forward. As I read today's show of Catching Up with Lefford, I said you will be inspired as they discuss moving on from failure. You will be inspired to not only accept responsibility, but be motivated to move on, making not only your life, but all those around yours lives better in the process. Yeah, Lefford, I want to say this. You just did a spontaneous, that's the word for today of this conversation. You did a spontaneous performance, we'll call it, since it was in a competition. Delivery is what it is, I guess. Telling of the speech that you did that put you as the number 2 Toastmaster speaker in South Carolina out of 3,000 people. But Lefford, you know, the girl must have been fantastic because she got first place, but there was probably a lot of emotional things in her story as well. And the judges, you know, they probably had a tear in their eye. I'm sure everybody in the room was crying when she gave her speech. And so, plus Lefford, come on now, let's face the truth here. I mean, look in a mirror, Lefford. You know, you're a good looking guy and all, but I mean, you went up against a young girl there. You know what I mean? So like, let's give it credit here. I'm just playing. Lefford, you're a professional. You're one of the best speakers that I've ever known. And to be able to deliver what you just did on the show just now, I can't believe that you're driving in a car on a highway and delivering that speech as clear and as focused as you just did. So thank you for doing that, Lefford. Plus, the story touches my heart because I've heard it several times. It's in its entirety is on episode 107 for those of you who want to go back and listen to it. Lefford, God bless you. You're beautiful. You're just absolutely beautiful. Wow. So you're not leaving me speechless because I'm just humbled though because you're terrific, Lefford. I learn a lot from you. In fact, everybody, the reason that Lefford and I are on the air right now is that I was writing a speech, and y'all know me. Lefford knows how to get it down. He knows how to get it down and be exact. But I have the benefit of being able to kind of like just talk spontaneous all the time. And on my radio show here, this is episode 118. I'm able to just kind of say what comes into my head, and the Holy Spirit speaks through me as much as I want to be speaking the Holy Spirit through me every moment, every breath that I take. So, but the point is, I've learned to just be surrounded by beautiful people, feel comfortable, and just let it flow. That's what we're doing right now. And Lefford's the best friend I've got for just being in a conversation and let it flow. Lefford, you and I, we probably talked about 400 or 500 hours in the last 2 years, or maybe, whatever. It led us all the way to where one conversation we had, I was driving to Wise, Virginia. I took an 8-hour drive because I love you so much to introduce you personally to Don Green, Executive Director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, who is one of the single most people in my life that I owe so much to for helping me learn and understand so much about life. I owe Don so much. And in fact, I had called you up the other day to introduce you to Randy Faulkner, who is writing the book Think and Grow Rich for Artists and Musicians. And he's doing a tribute book. It's a nonprofit book. He's doing a tribute to the life of Don Green. I think it's beautiful that somebody wants to do a tribute to someone while they're still alive. So I introduced you to him. And hey, you're doing a book right now yourself, a Napoleon Hill book, Lefford?
Yeah, I am. It's based on the 17 principles for a positive mental attitude. And like I said, thank God for you, Steve, because you did take me to Wise, Virginia. You introduced me to Don Green, and that was another direction change for me. I love Napoleon Hill's works, been studying it for a while, but because of what you've given me, I've been able to make a deeper dive and to actually get to know the man behind the foundation. And so when I went through the certification process as a Napoleon Hill certified leader, I met Don Green, and I also met a number of other leaders as we were going through this process. So we decided to write a book based on those 17 principles. I've been in a few collaborative books lately, and I wanted to do one myself because I wanted to help people see the path, because sometimes people need a model to follow. And as a leader, I'm a leader. I'm an Air Force guy, and what I'm is a sergeant. And a sergeant means to serve. So as a servant leader, my job is to serve people. And I figure the best way to serve is to show them what I did, the good, the bad, the ugly. Let my long road be their shortcut. And so we brought some people together to write this book, and we're at almost the end of the process. I'm going to Wise, Virginia again in June, and this time I'm going to get a chance to present this body of work to the foundation and to Don Green. So I'm extremely excited about this process.
One of the best things I ever have done, though, is introduce you to Don Green, because Don Green, he loves you. He thanked me for introducing you to him. And as everybody knows, the purpose mission statement of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, I think it's about as high a mission statement as I've ever heard in my life. And it's very simple. It's to help make the world a better place in which to live. And Don is such a beautiful guy. The curriculum that I'm doing, you're actually one of the 4 videos in there. A message from Lefford Fate. I've got a message from Don Green. I've got a message from Robin Casargent, and I've got a message from Jim Stovall, who Don Green introduced me to. And I'll be introducing you to Jim Stovall when you go to Oklahoma soon. But the thing is, Don Green is always there for you. One of the most famous men in the world. He's written over 250 books, or at least collaborated on over 250 books. He's spoken in front of 39 countries to date, I believe. He's spoken in front of the United Nations. But yet, when I called the Napoleon Hill Foundation for the first time about 6.5 years ago, he answered the phone. And when I call him, he answers the phone just to tell me, I can't talk right now, Steve. I'm in a meeting, but I wanted to take a second just so I could let you know that I'll call you back, and then we set the time. I love Don Green. He sent me some materials that are included in my prison visits. I just got this about 3 weeks ago, and when I went to the Northeast Correctional Complex in Mountain City, Tennessee 2 weeks ago, I gave them a copy of this. And this is Napoleon Hill's 10 Rules for Success. And I'm going to go ahead and read them right now. 1, set your head and heart upon a definite major purpose and go to work right where you stand to attain it and begin now. 2, adopt and follow the habit of going the extra mile by rendering more service and better service than you are paid for, thus enlarging the space you may occupy in the world. 3, control your mental attitude and keep it always positive and free from the spirit of defeatism. 4, apply the golden rule in all your human relationships, no matter what others may do. 5, learn all that others have discovered in connection with your occupation, job, or business, and profit by their experience, thus saving yourself both grief and loss of time. 6, be prudent with your diet, exercise regularly, and avoid dependence on drugs, alcohol, or tobacco. 7, keep your dominating thoughts upon the things you desire and demand of life, and off the things you do not desire. 8, learn to transmute your sex emotion into the attainment of your definite major purpose at will, remembering that this is a creative force of unknown, unlimited possibilities. 9, if you work for another person, do your work his way, not yours, and do it in a gracious, pleasing manner. 10, instead of criticizing others, parentheses, no matter how much they may deserve it, end of parentheses, devote your time to the discovery of traits of your own which should be corrected, lest they provide the basis of just criticism against you. Those are 10 pretty good rules, don't you think, Lefford?
I think they are rules, great rules, and it's kind of my playbook. And I'm a simple man, and I know you like to correct me when I say stuff like that, but it's true. Success leaves clues. And what I do is I look for people and things that work and just follow those. It's amazing to me how people look at that and say, wow, Lefford, how are you doing what you're doing? I find a good plan, like 10 simple rules, and follow those rules. Now, let's be honest. Just because a rule is simple doesn't mean it's easy, but it's something to aspire to. In my favorite book, I got a playbook. My favorite book is basically follow the word. And if you follow the word, then, you could you have a great life, bottom line.
Oh, yeah. Lefford, we're coming near the end of today's show, so I've got about twice as much, 3 times as much stuff that I could have brought into our conversation today, but I think we did a pretty admirable job. So let's go to your favorite book for a minute. I did a men's breakfast. I led the devotions yesterday and did some teaching, and the subject was what we're talking about today, men moving forward after failure. And I just kind of started off saying, no matter what I tell you today about what the answer is, I'm going to tell you there's only one answer. And I'm going to tell you something else. No matter what I tell you about what's going on in your life that you need to be paying attention to, I'm going to tell you there's only one answer. And I'm also going to tell you that no matter what you do in your life, no matter where, there's only one answer. And then I said to the men, and I know every one of you here knows the answer. And so I'm going to count to 3, and we're all going to shout out the answer at the same time. And if there's anybody in here that just doesn't shout out that answer, then the rest of us are going to go over and hug on you and show you how much we love you. And I went 1, 2, 3, and we all yelled, Jesus. And so what I'd like to do is just just get to the bottom line of it there. And I'm going to read